Good evening and welcome to TD Online. As you can see, I'm joined by a variety of guests straight up. Yes, we did have an amazing Varsity Shield tournament. We've seen CPUT take the title. However, not in a promotion season. However, this is something they can build on and possibly, maybe very soon, we'll see them in the Varsity Cup. I'm joined by Alister, Tace, Imibongo Babaza, and Tauriq Gamieldien. Gentlemen, Alister, let's start with you. What a tournament. Phenomenal tournament. What was it like as a coach, coaching in a bubble? And what different aspect or what learning curve did you have as a coach from this Varsity Cup bubble, or Varsity Shield bubble?
Firstly, thanks for having us on the show. Look, it was something different. Obviously, it was the new norm, So going into the bubble, for us, it was all about adaptation, which we played a big factor, and we sort of knew that before we went into the bubble. We have friends. The coaching staff of friends with various coaches from other universities in the Western Cape, so we could feed off their stories because they were in the bubble before us. So it sort of gave us a bit of idea, of what to expect, But being in the bubble, knowing that you confined to a certain campus or area for up to 12 days, mentally it was challenging. I don't think it was that physically challenging, but just having that mental blockage, of I can't leave the campus, yet I can explore the campus. I got to walk 2Ks to the training field if I don't have a bus on the day, for example. I can eat in the same cafeteria as the opposition, but yet I can't leave the campus. So those small sort of, mind games, those are challenges that we had to quickly overcome, and we quickly had to adapt, But soon the boys adapted, we adapted. We knew what our purpose was, we knew what the goal was, and and by us keeping our eye on that, I thought that it made it slightly easier for us, even though we had challenges in the bubble.
Imibongo, from you, your thoughts on the bubble as a player? What effect did it have on you thinking rugby 24/7 all the time?
It took some time getting used to, because you had to balance between your books, training, and all of that. But at first it was quite challenging because the lecturers too were also not understanding that we have rugby commitments, but we had to do what we had to do, and we made a balance, and we just did what we had to do. But it was a nice experience.
Certainly did what you had to do if you could bring back silverware to Cape Town.
Yeah.
Tauriq, you had a bit of a different experience. You had Ramadan in the bubble. What was that? What was that like? Was it something? I know it's weird. Nobody's ever experienced it before. For you, how do you find the month of Ramadan in a bubble?
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just a bit tough in terms of being away from home and being away from like family and stuff. So that was like a major L, I'd say. Also like the vibes I missed out on, like, Cape Town has its own like Ramadan vibe, and like just everything was quite different this year. Yeah, it was like majority of the Ramadan I was away from home. Yeah, focusing on rugby instead of, what would normally be focused on in the month of Ramadan. And it was a lot to take in at first, to be honest with you, but like as we entered into the second bubble, I was more adapted into the situation because of like the assistance that's provided, and this whole setup was created to like help me out more in a sense because of this whole everything was quite chilled. Yeah.
I can certainly relate to that because with myself as well, working on the entire Varsity Cup, it's late, it's early morning, it's late nights, and you hardly got to experience Ramadan as you would any other occasion. You miss going to mosque, you miss breaking your fast with the family. So yeah, I mean, it's things like that. Alister, did you guys take any of that into consideration in terms of like the management style from your side on how to make it more accommodating for him?
Yeah, we did because it was Tauriq and Amir who was also in the group. Um, I did make one slip up with the consideration though, when it came to selection, because what the guys done was they fasted on the days that they're not playing, but the day before and the day of play, they never fasted. And the one of the games, the situation caused where we had to do quite a late team announcement, and I think I caught Tauriq off guard there. And then, that was actually my mistake. And then he didn't fast that day, but I told him I'll make it up to him. But yeah, we had to consider it. We had to adapt. We had to, obviously speak to the caterers, how we train as well. Be considerate how the boys trained. We couldn't be push them too hard. Considering that you're going through Ramadan. And I think some of the boys try to fast as well, if I'm not mistaken. I tried the first 2 days. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. But at least I tried. But yeah, we had to consider it.
And that's supposed to be the easiest days. Imabonga, did you have any days that you tried to fast?
No, no. Only when I missed breakfast, when I had to like submit my assignments and that. That was all. Other than that, no.
I mean, Alister, you guys had quite phenomenal tournament. Imabonga, tell me, those matches that happened like with like 2 days of rest or 3 days of rest. So with me going through school and obviously learning from the books that the first day after, let's say, your match, your body would feel 60% of what it experienced the day before. The second day, you'd experience everything 80%. And then only basically it starts to slow down and you start to feel better. You guys having such a short rest period, how did you cope?
I think recovery was the most important thing, because we had like recovery stuff that our coaches gave us, which would help us maybe boost our energy. Like maybe after a game, you still have a test to write. Because on the first day we got there, we played Fort Hare, and I remember the Sunday I only slept at like 4 because I had an assignment that I had to submit on the day, and I had 2 submissions on the day that we were playing Fort Hare. So that was one tough day for me, but we made ways, man. We made ways. Obviously, after a game, you don't feel like doing anything. You just wanna be lazy around your room and just chill and chat with friends. But then you still have other demands too, which are books. But we made it work, man. We made it work.
Tauriq, your side, did you enjoy the fact that the matches were almost back to back and just like that on top of each other, or would you have preferred a different layout to the tournament?
Well, obviously, I'd prefer a different layout. It was a bit intense, I'm not going to lie, on the body, especially because one day you'd be playing and then it'd maybe be only a day gap, so you'd have a recovery session and then training, like straight away, double session in the day. You play in the next day, like there's just all around tough, but we have like a deep squad, so the squad rotation quite like helped us out quite a bit, so that was great. Like we could rely on everyone in the team to play a role, so that's always helpful.
And it certainly did. No, I'm saying it certainly did. Continue.
Oh yeah, and also like our coaches provided us with the means to recover, also with supplements and time to rest also in between sessions. So that also did kind of help a lot. They advise us like to get our feet off the ground during periods where there'd be no training or no team session or anything like that. So it also did help a bit. But yeah, I'd say predominantly the squad going throughout the East tournament, because it was like 4 games in the first bubble and then 3 in the second. it was quite hectic.
Now I can imagine. Yes, yeah, I can imagine how hectic that must have been. And Alister, you as a coach, how do you adapt to something like that?
So going into the tournament, there was three factors that we had to focus on. Okay, one was the adaptability. Two was recovery. How are we gonna keep the guys as fresh as possible? And three was the rotation policy. So you obviously followed the tournament. Every game, it was a different team that played.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we had 29 players on tour who could slot in at any time we needed. So that really helped us. Every game we could play some fresh legs. There were some players who played a majority of the games, but those were key positions. But the squad rotation and recovery that definitely helped us through the tournament. I mean, a one-day turnaround between games, it takes a toll on the player's body. And even with that one-day turnaround, the day that you're off, you still have to do recovery. You still have to prep for the next game. What Solix Jacobs, who's our conditioning coach, he really helped us along with the recovery and the preparation of planning for the training within the bubble. To make sure that we're training at the right intensity, we're training at the right load, and we're still keeping the boys as fresh as possible. And then the factor, like Ink said, boys still needed to study. We still needed to give them time off to study, and then that's where the mental fatigue comes in, not the physical fatigue, So us as coaches looking at that and taking a step back and having to balance it from our side, but also the player, having to balance it from their side. Lucky for us from a physical perspective, the nutrition that we got in the bubble was great. Lunch, breakfast, and supper. It was full course meals for the boys, which helped with the physical recovery. And then we managed to get quite a few supplementation on board, which could help the boys recover as well. And then just making sure that the schedules for the day and for the bubble is balanced, because there was a constant change in the bubble. Because some days you'd have a bus to training, some days you'd have to walk to training. The training field from where we stayed was 2 kilometers. So you're walking 2 kilometers to training, you're training, then you're walking 2 kilometers back. But certain days we could do that because it's part of your recovery process, and certain days we couldn't do that. We needed to make a plan to make sure that we get a bus. So it was just a balancing act at the end of the day. But those three factors of adaptability, the recovery factor, and the rotational policy, that's the three factors that helped us on the way to that cup.
And was that communicated with the players? Because I know sometimes players have so much going through their mind that they question so many things that the coaches do and the decisions coaches made. So was that kind of clear to the players, and did they understand the rotational policy?
Look, so those 3 points was a talking point all the way into before the tournament. So we had 10 weeks to prep, right? And as the weeks went on, there's certain things that we focused on. And 3 weeks before the tournament, those were the three key factors that we always spoke about. How's the squad going to rotate? We must be able to adapt. Okay, but adaptability comes natural to us. It's part of the way we play. We're one of those teams that can play whatever's in front of us, and that played a big role in us winning this tournament. And then the recovery, that's the balance between the coaches getting that scheduling right and putting the right training sessions in place at the right time. So there was that focus. At times, communication was delayed because of the constant change within the bubble, because access to fields, the booking might have been double booked. But because we had this adaptability concept in our mind, at the back of our mind, I think it became second nature to us, if that's the right way to put it.
Bongo, you were one of the tournament's top point scorers, standout players. How did you deal with the fact that there was always a squad rotation? Because had there not been a squad rotation, you could have easily topped the point scoring tally of the tournament. How did you feel personally? I know your coach is here and your fellow teammate is here, but I mean, if you could break it down, what was your thoughts on the rotational policy? Do you think it helped you as a player get through the tournament?
Yes, definitely. The rotational policy actually helped quite a lot. At first, as a player, you know that you want to play every game and you want to be part of the team and play all the games. But then during to the since it's like a lot of games like close to each other, so you'd understand that it's for the team and also for your own good for you to recover too. But even though at a stage I was also like top point scorer of the tournament, but then I knew what mattered. What came first was the team. So I actually didn't mind. It was just if it wasn't part of the team, it wasn't gonna happen that I'd be top point scorer. So I understood what the coaches did with the rotational policy.
Tauriq, what was your thoughts on the whole rotational policy and the team obviously performing the way it did? Because I mean, you could see the fresh legs when it came to the big games, and you guys pitched up all the time.
Yeah, like Imi Bongo said, like as a player, you obviously want to be a part of every starting lineup or every match day 23, but that's also not realistic because there's 30 or 28 other players in the squad that's also wanting to be in that starting lineup in that match day 23. Uh, and yeah, it's just not possible to fit everyone in. So obviously the coaches have to make the tough decisions as to who plays on the day. And yeah, so like I'm all in favor of the rotational policy because at the end of the day, like the coaches know best on who to play when and yeah, and what team to set up against different teams because technically they did their homework to understand what will be the best lineup to face opponents at the end of the day. So, like, the rotational policy is like the best thing that could be implemented in a squad because it also gives everyone a sense of where they stand in the team and their role. So, you identify your role better so you can perform better in the team as well. You see, so.
Talking about that, you were one of the more tactically sound wings in the tournament. Not scoring as many points, but tactically on defense and attack, you were one of those players that had the all-round package, the complete package. How did you grow in this tournament as a player? And do you think that this tournament definitely helped you grow as a player now that you can take on, let's say, the league that's coming up?
I definitely think this tournament helped me grow because mentally and physically, emotionally, like all in all, we go through so many battles during the bubble. Like I personally faced a lot of like big uphill times that I had to overcome during the bubble. So I feel like as a person I grew, as a player I grew. So all in all, I think it was a big learning like opportunity for me. Also, I felt like much bigger bonds with my teammates because now we're spending so much more time together. We daily together. It was just all in all great for our team to be around each other for such an extended period of time and also allow us to become closer than with one another because now we get to know each other on a more personal basis as we daily together. You know what I mean? So I think all in all, the bubble was like a big positive for CPUT as a rugby community as a whole.
You said you faced some personal challenges and uphill battles, and a very close friend of mine and a family member of yours as well, Raik, you've lost an uncle during this tournament, and you're in the bubble. We've heard of it happening to guys like Jurgen Klopp, many coaches, many players around the world, but here it's happening to one of our own. And how did you how did you cope with that, knowing that you're in a bubble and you won't be able to be there with your family during this difficult time period?
We actually just came. Yeah, it was really tough. We just came back from a big win actually against Rhodes, and we were on our way to supper. So the assistant, the SNC coach, Charlie, he told me, it's like, you're Angle pass and whatever. Yeah, I just broke down. It was quite tough emotionally for me to handle at the moment. Yeah, but luckily I had a great support base. My whole team was there to support me. Yeah, I feel like that just made me feel like I can rely more on my teammates in not only on the field but off the field as well, because yeah, they're standing with me when I'm in need. So yeah, I feel like that also built closer bonds for me personally while I was away in the bubble. Yeah, it's tough, but you know, like adaptability and yeah, it's just some things you have to overcome in life, and that is one of them. So yeah.
No, I can imagine. But I mean, Varsity Shield, pat on the back, a job well done, Coach Alister. Now you've obviously won the tournament in a non-promotional year. Next year there is promotion, but before that you've got the league coming up. What's your approach going to be to the league this season, coming off a high like winning the Varsity Shield?
So we got quite a few players who's not available for most of the season because they got to do the practicals. I'm teaching practicals, but it's a good opportunity for those fringe players who never made the final 29, to come into the squad, and we also want to carry momentum. You want a shield, you want to win the league, even though it's not a promotional league as well but it's a competition at the end of the day. So carrying that momentum over into the competition will be key for us. And also just getting those new boys to playing more together, more combinations. You'll probably play 7 games in the league, and then hopefully you'll have your semis and your finals. So it's a max of 9 games that you're playing. So trying to get everybody, through those 9 games, try and mix and match in new combinations going forward. We have 6 of our senior players who's done with Varsity Shield, who will be part of this journey in this competition. But it's also for them now to mentor the guys who will be taking over in their position going forward. So there's quite a bit of boxes that we want to tick off going forward. We just have to hope that COVID allows us to play this league. The season.
Yeah.
With the third wave being here, there's already uncertainty with whether the league will go on. It's already delayed now, but it was supposed to start on the 5th of June. But I think it's been pushed back to the 12th of June. So fingers crossed that we can play. And then, just try and tick as many boxes as we can going forward.
No, definitely. And how many of your squad members are you taking with you next season to help CPUT gain promotion to the Varsity Cup?
So you're allowed to travel with 30 players. You have a bona fide squad of 36. You travel with 30 at a time, depending on how the competition will be set up next year. If it's going to be a bubble situation, you'll travel with 30. If it goes back to the norm, then you have a match day of 25, who you can on the day, but only 23 you can use. So it all depends on how the competition will be set up for next year. To be honest with you, I prefer being in the bubble. This bubble style tournament. It's sort of like a craven.
Every coach's dream. More control over your players.
Much more control. The only thing you can't control is Uber Eats. That's the only thing you can't control. But it's much more controllable. Everybody has the same variables with a short turnover time. It's not a long drag tournament where you're playing it over 8 weeks. It's 2 bubbles, 9 to 12 days each, done and dusted. And you come out there with a cup at the end of the day.
You see, we've got people on Facebook enjoying the interview. ZG Solomons. Obviously, Tauriq's got a good fan base there. So for all of those watching on Facebook and on YouTube, you can interact with us. Drop your comments down in the comment section below, and we will read them out on screen. Ibibongo, you've made the headlines this week around South Africa. Not for your rugby skills, however, more for your rugby skills. And obviously, getting unions around the country to take you on. I mean, come on. What's your goals after this Varsity Shield tournament? You've certainly shown everybody what you could do. And where do you take it from here? What are your goals and aspirations going forward?
Going forward, I think for every player going forward, obviously to go pro, but then we don't decide that. The unions decide. So I'm hoping some union will come knocking on my door, and I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd just go. So going pro from now on, going forward, I'd love that. That's one goal and dream that I'd like to pursue.
Well, I mean, you can always share the video cast stage with me. You know, we love the banter. You're always keeping it fresh week in and week out. Tauriq, for you, what are some of your goals going forward after winning the Varsity Shield tournament? Put it on your CV. Very flashy, huh?
I mean, going forward, I suppose first goal would be Varsity Cup, winning another shield firstly next year, hopefully with the boys. And then, yeah, 25 would be my last year. That would be in 2 years' time. So hopefully by then we could have a year of cup under our belt. And that's basically my short-term goal. And then after that, like, you never know where the road leads. Like, I'm very optimistic and I'm open to any opportunity that comes my way. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep my head down and keep working hard. Hopefully, the right opportunity will come knocking. And, yeah.
You gentlemen certainly have a bright future ahead of you. Coach Alister, let's get to you. Your preparation now starts for Varsity Cup. No pressure here. Is that part of your personal goals as a coach? And what are some of your goals as a coach?
Yeah, so look, when joining CPUT, there was always a long-term and a short-term plan. The long-term plan is to eventually get into the Varsity Cup. But by doing so, we need to climb the club leagues. We only play in the Super C. And to be competitive in the Varsity Cup, you have to play in the either Super B or the Super A league in the Western Cape, because those are competitive leagues, and it also prepares your players for the Varsity Cup challenges. So yes, we want to get to the Varsity Cup, but we need to make sure that we lay a foundation in the Shield, and that when we reach the Varsity Cup, it's not about survival. It's about competing. And I think that's where when teams go up, it's about survival. So for me personally and for the team, I don't want us to go up and it's about survival. It's us going up and we're competing, and it's bigger than rugby, man. These boys will tell you that my coaching is beyond the rugby field. It's all about making a better person in life, a better human being, a person that can make a better decision in society, positive change. If you can get that right, for them to make right decisions on a rugby field becomes easy, it becomes second nature. Fortunate for me, I got a bunch of talented youngsters at CPUT. So rugby, yes, coaching them rugby, but it's the off-field attributes that will make them better rugby players at the end of the day. So that's always been my philosophy, is making a better human being, making kids who can training actually can make better decisions off the field, and then eventually it will lead onto the field. And I always punt that as we go along. And then these boys put CPUT on the map with a second Varsity Shield. CPUT's name is out there. So when they're out there off the rugby field, they're also ambassadors of CPUT. So for them to act in a certain way, make the right decisions out of the university environment, being that ambassador, that's part of your coaching as well. Preparing him for that part of the journey as well. So look, Varsity Cup is on the cards and it will come. But next year will be a rebuild for us, because 6 of our key players has ended off, but they've left a great foundation for the boys who are there, just to build on. So I'm excited about next year because there's gonna be some new outfits that's gonna be joining us. But let's first get through this season. Let's build on that momentum of the Varsity winning the cup and try and win the league competition. And then we'll take it from there. Here's a plan, but sometimes you just have to trust the process of the plan, and hopefully you'll come out tops at the end.
Cool. Yo, that moved me. And I think that is something that all of us as individuals need to take into perspective into life, as to become better human beings and better individuals first. Coach Alister, in the bubble, Imi, Tauriq, what were you guys celebrating? How did you celebrate in the bubble? Just break that down for me. Before I let you go, that's my last question.
I'll let the boys go first.
Obviously, when you win a cup, you want to go celebrate, you want to go out and maybe go party. But then we had to follow protocol, and we just got together post match with some of the Wusu boys. We gathered, and then we had a couple of beers, and then after that we went back to our race where we stay, and we just chilled there, and then we just had a couple of fines, and then because we had an early flight too, so we had to consider that too. So went back to our race, had a couple of fines, and then everybody went to sleep after that. It doesn't. We knew once we get to Cape Town, we gotta celebrate.
Tauriq, what are some of the celebrations that took place when you guys got to Cape Town?
Very chill on my part. I didn't do much celebrating, to be honest with you. There was a nice homecoming for us at the airport, which was quite cool, and at Belleville, which unfortunately I couldn't attend, but it looked quite cool from the videos and the pictures that I saw. And yeah, I'm bleak I missed out on that, but hopefully in the future there'll be more to come. So I'm always looking forward to that.
Certainly. Alister, you're asked to go last. The floor is yours.
Look, so during the course of the bubble, we had a lot of food parties, late evening food parties. Because fortunate for us, there was kitchens around there. Tauriq brought wings all the way from Cape Town, which he made for us with his special sauce. So every night we'd have a late night snack, probably here around 11-ish. That would be our let out. But after the final, it was a bit unreal, because for me personally, I'm not a person that gives up. I'm always calm in a situation. And on the 80th minute, when they got that penalty, I switched my radio off, and that was the one moment that I gave up. But when he missed that kick, right? Something just told me the game is out. We needed one opportunity. And I remember telling the boys halftime, there was this placard that as I walked into the change room, what did it say now? I can't remember what it said. But anyway, and after my halftime speech, I threw it in the middle of the circle and I said, you decide. Oh, it was discipline. I think it was discipline on there.
Discipline.
And then it was discipline. Did it say discipline, Tauriq? I can't remember. Anyway, and I threw it in the middle. Yes, because our discipline was a bit towards the end of the second half was a bit shocking. And I threw it in the middle of the circle after my talk, and I said, "You decide." And I just walked up, And then we came out nicely in the second half, and then our second strat break, we had opportunity to seal it after the second strat break. We had a 3-on-1. But in the center, grabbed it through, and then we got a yellow card, and then they came back into the game. But the second strat, the extra time, half time, okay? I just told the Oaks, have a crack, have a go. We need one opportunity, and that opportunity came in the last minute of extra time. It was unreal. It was surreal, It just showed you the fight in the boys and the hunger that never give up attitude, man. So our theme for the campaign was a lion mindset. you know. So the lion's characteristics is courageousness, pride, the willingness to hunt, teamwork, fearless, you know. So we punted it every day, every game, and at the end of the day, it pulled through. You could see that fight come through till the end. But then after the game, because of the nature of the win, you wanna let go and release, but also you in this cloud of what just happened, like, because in all honesty, and I don't want to sound big-headed or anything, but that guy, we shouldn't have been in that situation. We should have clearly walked the game. Should have been easy put away for us. But I would not change it for the world, because it was so exciting, and it will be a final that will be remembered for years to come in the way it ended. And then look, the nice thing, as Ing said, the great thing was the camaraderie of the two teams after the game. How we mixed after the game. We had a social together, having beers together, coaches chatting, what's your future plans, exchanging numbers, forming WhatsApp groups. So we can, just learn from one another, stay in contact, and then, I don't know about these boys, but they went to sleep early. I never slept till I got on the bus. And then, Cape Town was wonderful. We had the Vice Chancellor and the Dean of Students meet us at the airport with a crowd of students, and some of the Vice Chancellor's executive members. So they made it really special for the boys. And then we had a parade at Belleville campus, and we had something to bite or something to eat afterwards. And then, and then there was a build-up, and till last night, every day, you still felt that last minute of the game. And last night sealed off the campaign. Actually, we had not last night, Monday night, we had a dinner with the Vice Chancellor and his executive team, and our squad and technical staff. And what was said there, about the boys and how appreciative they were for what the boys has done for CPUT as a collective and CPUT community, really culminated the whole tournament, showing that these boys sacrificed a lot to be there. Everybody had their own challenge. Everybody knew their why, but yet we had a common purpose, a common goal as a team, and we always had the eye on the prize. So there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of sacrifice, and just to know that they are appreciated by the university and the greater community, was really, really awesome. And the event was I think the event was really nice on Monday. And that was it for me. It was a nice way to seal off the campaign. And now our boys are on the map. They got a lot of TV time. There's unions speaking to some of our boys. Some of our boys has been playing in province invitational teams for the past 2 weeks. Some of them are playing on Thursday again. So things are happening, and that's what you want to see as a coach. You want to see players grow. You want to see the team or the organization grow. So I'm really happy with the space that we're in at the moment.
We also look forward to seeing much more of the players and much more of you as well, Coach. It's been phenomenal being on this journey, watching you guys from game one, going right through until the final minute of extra time. Nathan Kutu scoring that try in the last minute of the game to seal it. It was amazing. But gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening. It was a pleasure chatting to you, hearing your stories, and just how moving life was in the bubble for you guys, and how you managed to overcome all of your individual challenges and still go out there and put on a world-class performance. Congratulations on winning the title once again. And man, hope you guys have a great evening further, and I look forward to chatting to you soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, cool.
Keep on. We chat again. Thanks. That was the CPUT members, Alister, Tauriq, Gamieldien, and Imibongo Babaza, sharing their experience in the bubble, and obviously winning the Varsity Shield title. Phenomenal feat for them. The second time they've done it in just a matter of years. Great. But talking of greatness, we're joined by another great coach. He's been years in the game. He's managed to prove himself year in and year out on a league level in the Pirates Grand Challenge, and he's also on a provincial level as well. stunned quite a couple of people. Coach Hugo, good evening. Thanks for joining me on the show.
Thank you very much, Thaakir. I appreciate. Sorry, man. We've got load shedding here in Johannesburg, and so it was a struggle to get in. But yeah, thank you. It's great being on the show.
Nothing new to us South Africans, eh? We learn to just adapt.
No, you're right.
Coach, we've heard from CPUT what life was like in the bubble for them. And I mean, you as a coach, you've had Currie Cup experience, you've had the experience of being at Varsity Cup level for many years. And to add to your CV, you've now got coaching in a bubble. What was that like for you?
Yeah, Thaakir, look, there was a huge uncertainty regarding going into the bubble. And that's exactly what we experienced. The turnaround time for teams to recover was very tough. Where normally you've got a Monday night game, you've got a week to recover and then prepare and then play the following Monday night. The turnaround time was tough. So there was a lot of pressure on staff, on support staff and medical staff and the players. So yeah, it was tough. It was different, but still, it was an amazing experience and such a privilege to be back on the field playing. Different conditions, it doesn't matter. And like I said, it was amazing because it was so good to just be out there and to play and to represent.
Talking about representing and greatness, I need to congratulate you on your victory yesterday against UJ. It came on the 80th minute. Was this planned as your as a farewell gift to you, to give you a little bit more grey hair before you obviously hang up your boots as a coach? What was it like going through the game, like getting into that situation? Did you ever expect UJ to push you to the last minute?
Look, Thaakir, us and UJ, doesn't matter. We could be number 1 or they could be number 10 and they could be number 1 and we could be 10. They could have a good side, we could have a bad side. Every time that we play, local derbies is huge. It's always a close encounter. So there's such a respect for the teams. And we knew that going into this game that although we had a great game against UWs and a lot of things worked out for us against UWC, we knew it's going to be tough. Look, we had a couple of opportunities in the first half, and I kept on saying to the team, if we use those opportunities, I'm sure that they will start fading away. But it didn't turn out to be that way. And actually, they were leading, and we were fighting to get back into the game. So it was. Look, it's a great story, and we lost the game to the Eagles, Northwest Eagles, in the 81st minute, with a huge kick from the halfway line, in wet conditions and very tough conditions, and it was good that we could write that story at the end of our campaign, and it's like a film, you sit in the movie and you see these things happen, and the team is under pressure and they keep plugging away at it. And the next moment, this thing turned around like, we get reward for being around there and for putting in the effort. No, so it was huge. Look, we had such a laugh afterwards, coaching staff, because we said, even the 30-year-old coaches said, listen, they're too old for this kind of stuff. So yeah, no, it was very tough, very exciting, and good to be on the right end at least this time.
And talking of the right end, I mean, this was such a beautiful showing for the Golden Lions Rugby Union at the same time, knowing that in our province, we've got so many brilliant, talented, up-and-coming players coming through the ranks that could easily fall into let's say a Pro 16 Pro 18 setup, or they can easily fall into a Currie Cup setup. How does this make you feel as a coach? Because you've obviously done the work at grassroots level for many years, both with UJ and with Wits, and now finally you've seen many Springboks come through your hands. How does that make you feel as a coach?
Yeah, look, Thaakir, obviously that is our dream and that is our passion, is not only to develop the player and to create an opportunity for him to play at a higher level, because ultimately that's why we're there. We're there to achieve. Obviously, we've got our own dreams and our own goals, but at the end of the day, it's also our dream and our goal that our players get recognition outside, if not in our own province, then somewhere else. That the sun shines somewhere else over them, but ultimately, if we can add value to our flagship, to our union, that's what we stand for. We can't. It's amazing to have players for 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 years in your environment, and they add so much value. But ultimately, if we get tested as coaches, is that player like a Daniel Kasende, which got a Griquas contract and now he's with the Cheetahs? That's what we live for. That's what we dream for, because then at least it shows our systems and our structures are in place. And we're excited we understand that unions are under pressure at the moment with regarding contracting, and that it's basically impossible for them, especially in the competition that they're going now and the format that they're going now. But some Saturdays they got to field 2 teams, and if our players get that kind of exposure, that makes us proud. Last year with Coach Mazaki Nkosi, with under 21s, at one stage Wits had 12 to 13 players in the group of 23, which is amazing for us, because then it means that our players get the exposure, and in the meantime we know we're adding value. So because obviously there's a dual role and a dual responsibility, like when we play in the Varsity Cup, they will sometimes look after us, and so that's amazing. And if we can keep on building on that, adding value and making sure that not only university rugby, but also provincial and our national rugby grows and becomes strong, then we know we're doing the right thing.
And you spoke of national rugby. There was a national rugby camp in the middle of your campaign. Do you think that threw you off a bit as a coach? I know that coaches like to cling on to their players when it's their time. Did it kind of throw you off as a coach a bit in preparing for your games ahead? Because this tournament was literally, every game was an uphill battle for Wits University.
Yeah, look, at one stage we had 2 players with the SA under 20 side going into their preparations, and look, they added a lot of value. We knew that we might get them for 3, 4, 5 games, and the national coach Bafana was open and with us in the front, and we knew that this is the situation, and I think all varsities struggled with that. And we would have loved to have them around for the whole campaign, but it is what it is. And they've got a competition coming up June, July, against international sides. But that's what it is. And it's just another opportunity for the next guy that also has been training hard, also has been in the system for 6, 7, 8 months pre-season, for him to get his opportunity. And that's exactly what happened towards the end of this our Varsity Cup campaign. We lost a couple of players, and the youngsters came in. Keegan Laveau, the general that dropped that goal in the 81st minute, he was actually our 3rd choice. And the fact that he played 2 or 3 games at the end of the campaign meant so much to him. And we're happy for him, because he worked hard, and that's his reward. So, yeah, look, Thaakir, we would love to have our SA players. We would love to have our provincial players, which is with the Lions at the moment. But at the moment, we're all serving, and we're all making sure that the bigger picture is healthy.
And what do you make of this tournament, let's say, from a rugby perspective as a whole? I mean, every game has been always on the go, on the bounce. You work with what you have and what's available to you. You as a coach, you've now been, like we've said earlier, you've had experience on all levels. In your final season as a coach, you've been given this card. Do you think that this was a lesson to you as a coach, or do you feel like it's another feather in your cap?
Look, Thaakir, to be honest, I hope it doesn't come around again. You know, and maybe if we were in the semi-finals or that, I would have thought differently about it. But it's tough. It's tough. You know, the last bubble we had a 2-day turnaround, and you know, so you play the Tuesday, and then the Wednesday you off the Thursday, or you play the Sunday, we off the Monday, Tuesday, and we play again. You know, so it's a 2-day turnaround, and so you've got 1 day to recover, one day to fix, and then the next day you've got to start working on the opposition again, and so that's very tough. I'm not sure. I'm glad that I did it, but I must be honest. I think if it's been presented to us again, we would think differently about it. But I must be honest, Thaakir, if last year this time, if they offered us a game in the desert with no turnaround days, then we would have also taken it. So, you know, as much as we look now in hindsight back at this tournament, it's an unbelievable competition. If you look at the scores, if you look at the excitement, if you take last night's game from the Eagles versus CUT, where they were leading 15-3, Eagles came back. They took 17-15 up. Next moment, Eagles ran away with it, and the Bloemfontein side just came back again at the end, to finish up with 2 or 3 points, leaving it there. So it's such an amazing competition, and look, we obviously, all of our coaches wants the best of both worlds, and we need time to recover and we need time to repair. But yeah, so from that, saying that it's a very tough. It was a very, very tough competition, or there was other factors involved which made it even worse for us. But grateful to be part of it, and grateful if Wits University could add anything to Varsity Cup. In the past, we've added every year. There was a shock result or a shock speech that was made by the captain. So we excited, and we believe that we added to the final product. Yeah.
Coach, with Wits obviously being the first team, or part of the first teams to go into a bubble, play rugby under the COVID regulations and the COVID restrictions, how did yourself and the rest of your management team deal with having positive cases within the camp, so that other coaches that are going to still experience this can use this as a learning curve and take a page out of your book to implement in their style of coaching?
Look, Thaakir, you know, we in our pre-season, which was 4 or 5 months, we had amazing protocol, and we had 1 or 2 cases where players got tested, and that was out of not in our environment, but around their own lifestyle, and in their own private lives. So we, and a compliment must go to our S&C coach Jacques Durand with the universities, people that handled this thing. So we were very, and then before the first bubble, 2 of our star players got tested on the Thursday before going into the bubble, which was a huge setback for us. Huge. They were 2 vital players for us, and to lose 2 key players in your string or in those key positions was a huge setback to us. But it's not something that you can play with, unfortunately. And Thaakir, that's ultimately what we did. We respected whatever was thrown to us. We had to respect the return to play protocol. You know, you had to respect the symptoms, and because at the end of the day, this is not something to take lightly. You know, you can always, if I struggle with an ankle, or I struggle with my thumb, or you know, I can play around that. But when it comes to these kind of health issues, you know, we weren't prepared to take a chance. And so I would say that get to all future teams going into competitions is to make sure that your protocols is in place, and you got to abide. You got to, you know, if the player has a light cough, you got to report it. And that sometimes I feel sometimes I wonder if that's not the case. Players they desperately want to play and they don't report all the true facts. I suppose it's the same if I walk into a store these days and they keep on asking me these questions because I need to go in and get a product. I sometimes not always reveal the ultimate truth. So, but you got to respect the process. There's a lot of hard work. The COVID committee from Varsity Cup, which consists of doctors and professors and people that know much more than myself about this, you got to respect it, and you got to respect what the players' true report is, because if he tells you, listen, I've got a small headache or something, you got to respect it, and you got to think past your aim to get the right result. So ultimately, I truly believe it's about the respect for what we are currently in and what the world is facing.
No, definitely. It's quite tough times, and it's very difficult for any coach or any player, because you just never know what tomorrow has in store for you with this pandemic being around. Coachy, your final season of Varsity Cup, what are some of your favorite highlights of your career coaching, and those memorable ones that will live with you forever?
Thaakir, it's my brother that's finishing up. It's not me.
Wow,
So,
one place, and I'm getting confused here.
Yeah. So all the hype was around him in the past Varsity Cup, but
Yeah.
so we can share about that. Now look, so Etienne, my brother, is wrapping it up,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been a great servant of Wits rugby. He's been involved with the university for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, and in those years, if I can speak on his behalf, I think it's being in the Shield competition, exactly what CPUT was talking about now, and listen to Alister, being in the Shield and qualifying for Varsity Cup, and being that first team, because normally that team that gets promoted always is the first team again out, and we set standards, and that was our dreams, and not to be that team, and we've achieved that. We really wanted to be first, was to be in the mid-table, be competitive, throw that monkey off our back, which normally the team that gets promoted gets the big hidings and get the big scores, and the opposition teams looks at them to say, yeah, we'll definitely pick up 5 points on that team, and that we have achieved. We've set a standard, and we've been in the semi-final once. We desperately wanted to be this year in the semi-final again. And then obviously winning the Pirates Grand Challenge was a highlight for us. At one stage we beat Tuks twice in a row, and in Varsity Cup once, and then at USA. So those are all great momentums for us and moments in our career. And Etienne obviously played a huge role in achieving that goals that we had. And then obviously there's a lot of off-field achievements, players getting their degrees, walking away with a Wits degree, which is amazing, I think, and as one of the top academical universities in Africa. So there's a lot of small victories, small achievements that Wits rugby has achieved over the past 3, 4, 5 years.
No, definitely. The Pirates Grand Challenge now coming up, and that's going to be your key focus going forward. We've seen that the Wits team did have quite a difficult run in the first few games of the Pirates Grand Challenge. Now with, let's say, the experienced campaigners back, what can we expect from Wits in this Pirates Grand Challenge?
Look, Thaakir, we use the Pirates Grand Challenge as a development phase for our younger generation players coming through, and the older players are happy with that. Because of the tough program regarding their studies, we can't follow a 10 months of the year or a 9 months of the year semi-professional environment. So we take the heat off a little bit, and we love to give players in a protected environment with some of the senior players, and obviously with the senior players, they know where we're going. We give it's a development competition, but in the same sense, look, we started off with Pirates in the campaign, in the Varsity Cup campaign, which was tough, and the boys did amazingly. That was not our second stringers. It was basically a combination of second stringers and some of the Varsity Cup boys. And they did well. They went down narrowly to Pirates, which has got a great side. Yeah, so we're looking forward to building up a bit of momentum and to see what the next generation's got, because in the last 2 or 3 games, in our last bubble of the competition, we gave a lot of youngsters an opportunity, and which holds a lot for the future for Wits rugby. So we're excited about that, and we want to build on that. But we obviously, like I said, with a lot of respect to some of the open clubs, they're not 22-year-olds or 23-year-old students that's playing against us. So we got to respect how we're going to use these youngsters. But great competition and a great privilege again to be out there and play.
Well, I'm certainly going to be looking forward to seeing you when Raiders and Wits meet. It's going to be interesting having a pre-match chat with you. But Coachy, that's all we have time for this evening. Thanks so much for your insight. We really appreciate it, and we hope that this can help all the other coaches that are about to start this season, that's currently going through this season, so that they know how to go about maneuvering their style of coaching and what happens when they do encounter positive cases in the setup. Thank you so much, Coachy.
Thanks, Thaakir. Privilege. Thanks.
The Women's Premier Division, having you soon. Right after this, we're going to be chatting to Melissa Hughs, who's going to be telling us a bit more about the Premier Division. She is a Blue Bulls prop. She's going to tell us everything about how that tournament is unfolding. So stay tuned. Don't move. Remember, you can pop your comments in the comment section below, and we will be able to share them on screen. Well, stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the interview coming up. In Western Province and Border continue their dominance in the tournament. Both teams are unbeaten. However, today we're going to be chatting to Melissa Hughs, that plays for the Blue Bulls Rugby Union. And they also suffered a defeat over the weekend at the hands of the Boland Dames, who won their first game of the season. And quite an amazing victory, to overcome the Bulls, which has a number of national players in their team. Melissa, good evening. Thanks for joining me on the show. How is the season going so far?
Our season is going pretty rough so far. We've got a lot of new players this year that we didn't have in previous years. So it's definitely taking us some time to, come together and gel as a team and start trusting each other, on the field. Unfortunately, when you mix players in, it's not as easy to win as when you've played with people before. So it's definitely going to take us some time to start getting the ball rolling, working as a team, but it is definitely coming together. With each and every game that we play, the trust is building, and we are definitely starting to work together as a team. So we're feeling quite positive for the game this weekend against the EP Queens, and for going into our second round of games as well.
No, you've got round 2 to bounce back and obviously try and balance the table somehow and maybe just sneak in to a playoff spot. Melissa, looking at it this far, the Bulls has a number of national players in their team, and you said obviously the players are going to take some time to gel. What do you make of the season so far compared to previously? Because we do know that rugby has always been an amateur, women's rugby in South Africa has always been an amateur sport. And this year, there's been somewhat of a professional aspect in it, seeing that SARU now contracts national players for the women's team.
Yeah, so basically it has become a bit more challenging. A lot of teams are now, starting to shop for players, taking a lot of players from the national women's team, from the 7s and from the 15s. So the competition is definitely a lot stiffer now because, our games are being televised. So the pressure to perform is there as well. But at the same time, we're grateful that the sport is growing each and every year and we're moving towards being professional. I do feel that, that move basically will help us perform better, especially at an international level, because it does show that SARU is taking, more of an interest in the women's performance, not just locally, but internationally as well. So it's definitely moving in a positive direction, and the competition every year gets a lot stiffer between the girls and between the teams. I mean, there's old rivalry going on, especially going to Port Elizabeth this weekend to face EP Queens. In previous years, we lost to them consecutively, I think, for about 3 years. And then in 2019, we managed to beat them with a last minute try. So, yeah, the competition is good, it's healthy, and it's definitely helping us grow our game, both locally. And I do believe it will make a difference internationally as well.
You spoke about rivalry. Let's say you've made your mark in Gauteng rugby in Johannesburg in the Women's Pirates Grand Challenge. You then went across to the other side of the XK River, and now you're representing the Blue Bulls. How did that move come about?
So basically, I only started playing rugby in 2017 when I decided to leave life-saving for good. I started looking around for a different sporting code to play. Rugby was one of those sports that I'd always wanted to play, but I was always afraid of it because I didn't fully understand the game. So in 2017, I got in touch with Hindi from Wanderers, and they invited me to start playing there. And unfortunately there wasn't a official women's league for us to play in, so we would organize our own friendlies against other teams that had women's teams. But after the club rugby came to an end for the season, basically girls would then go and do trials at provincial teams. So most of the players from Wanderers would end up playing for the Lions. And I basically did go for trials at the Lions, and I wasn't selected. And Hindi basically sent me to the Bulls trials, which I thought I was going to Tuks. And when I got there, I realized that I was actually trialing for an A-League division team. So basically from the performance during our trials, they decided that they would train me. So I basically trained there for about 2 seasons without ever, playing a game. But they definitely took an interest in developing me as a player. And in 2019, that's when I actually started games for the Blue Bulls.
What is it like playing for the Blue Bulls? I mean, you're playing in the Premier Division of the SA Rugby, and look, it's massive. You're playing amongst Springboks in your team. I mean, wearing the blue jersey, if you had a choice, would you wear the Lions jersey over the Bulls jersey?
I don't think so. So I'm one of those people where my loyalty is incredibly fierce. So I just feel like because the coaches at the Bulls decided to give me an opportunity to train, they didn't have to take the chance because I was very inexperienced to the game and to the rules of rugby. It's very different from watching it on TV and actually having to play it on the field. So, for them to, say, stay behind, we'll teach you. It definitely makes me proud when I put on that jersey. They've given me an opportunity to fulfill a lifelong dream that I've had. And, you don't get those opportunities that come around every day. And you don't get people that will say, I'll, take an interest in training you and I'll show you how to do things. So I'm definitely indebted to those coaches because they took an interest in me as a player, and they've definitely developed me. And I mean, I have the opportunity to start now. The feeling of running onto Loftus to play a game,
it's probably undescribable. And I mean, if you look at
it definitely is. I mean, when I first watched rugby, it was the 95 World Cup. I must have been about 6 or 7. And I mean, it was always a male dominated sport. But the feeling of watching your country win something, so great. I mean, it definitely touched me as a little girl. And I always wanted to play. At school, we would always try, we would go and play with the boys. But there was always that thing that rugby is a boys' sport. So we weren't very welcome, when I was much younger. And I think the first time I actually got to watch women play was maybe in 2004, 2005, when they had their first test match against Wales in Port Elizabeth. And that's when I realized that women can actually play rugby.
Quite inspiring to think that, like, how far the sport as a whole has come. But before I do let you go, you're preparing for round 2 of the Premier Division. What can we expect from the Blue Bulls team? What do you expect in round 2, and what's your approach personally going to be to round 2?
I definitely do believe that we're going to come back a lot stronger. If you watch our previous games, you can definitely see that there's an improvement amongst the players. We're starting to work together as a team. And going into the second round, we've obviously analyzed our mistakes and where to improve them. And we definitely are working together, at our training sessions. We take some time out. We work together on, the little mistakes that we've made to obviously play a much better game. So I definitely do think that the Bulls are going to definitely place, up on top of the log there. So it's going to be an exciting round, I think, because the teams that we've played, we should have beat them, but they beat us on our own mistakes. So round 2 is definitely going to be interesting. I don't think this year it's going to be Western Province and Border in the finals. I definitely do think you'll see a different team there.
No, definitely. I mean, it just shows that the competition amongst the teams are becoming so stiff that it's not just clear and obvious winners like it was previously. But Melissa, that's all we have time for this evening. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the show. Really, really appreciate it. And good luck to yourself and the rest of the Bulls team for round 2 and the rest of the season.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
It's always a pleasure. That was Melissa prop for the Blue Union. They in